Batwoman, episode 13, season finale. Are we having fun yet? Ladies and gentlemen, and Gotham, we have reached the end of Batwoman. So, and again, I do apologize because I am well aware that this video is long overdue and it is very late. But, the Batman movie definitely threw a monkey wrench in my recording schedule and in my editing schedule, so definitely a little bit far behind, but I'm gonna catch up. But I'm definitely gonna catch up. Thank you to everybody that stuck with me, everybody that watches my Superman and Lois reviews, to everyone that watches my Naomi reviews, and everybody that watched my review on the Batman, and also follow my Legends of Tomorrow journey and my Batwoman journey as well, and Peacemaker. So now, in this particular episode, in the final episode of the season, this episode starts where Alice basically lost her shit. And she was basically trying to electric shock herself because she knew that she needed the buzzer in order to, bring back, like the good part of her brain. But she couldn't get the buzzer because the buzzer now belongs in Ryan's possession. Mary goes to, the hospital to check on her. And then she sees Alice trying to shock herself. And then, Alice was basically just like, I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be Alice anymore. And then she's just like, get out of my head. Get this out of my head. And then Mary said that, she found a clinic, like a medical facility that could treat people who suffered from childhood trauma. But then Alice was just like, at this point she was like, no, she's like, I don't want any more therapy. She was like, no more rooms, no more like cages, no more doors. So she starts freaking out. So now the Bat team, they're back at the bar and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do to stop Marcus, because Marcus, he found the Joker's last trick before he got taken down. The day that Marcus's bus was hijacked by the Joker actually told Marcus what his plan was. But Marcus basically masked that whole plan when he did that news report saying that he was going to out Batwoman's identity. So, so the Bat team, they're just like, we come up with a plan. And then, Ryan was just like, like we'll get him alone. And then once we get him alone, I'll zap him with the buzzer. And then Bob's your uncle. Then I can get my brother back. And then Mary shows up and then she was just like, or we could give it to Alice. And then everybody looked at her like, bitch. Like, she was like, what on your right mind? Like Sophie was like, first of all, we tried to help Alice and she said no. So, she was like, why should we help her now? And then, Mary was just like, I just witnessed her try to kill herself and then she's not going to survive her next psychotic break. She said, we need to use the buzzer to save her. And then Ryan was like, no. Right. Ryan was just like, she's like, I understand, like that's your stepsister and you feel some sort of like emotional attachment and some responsibility, but Alice had her chance like plenty of times and she blew it. So she said, I got to save my brother. She was like, that was the plan. That was the plan all along, for us to save Marcus. And then that's when Mary had came out of nowhere. And then she was like, oh, you guys said that when I was Poison Ivy. And then when I came back out of the Poison Ivy trance, like you apologized, for benching me. And you said that I would have a voice on this team. And then she was like, well, this is it. She was like, this is my voice. This is what I want. And I'm like, first of all, just because you fine don't mean you get whatever you want. Second of all, you said you get a voice on the team. Not that you get to make big decisions. Like, you don't get to make those types of decisions. By having a voice means when something comes up, if the discussion of the buzzer comes into play, you have a seat at the table. You can talk to everybody. You can bring your questions, comments, and or concerns to the table. But you don't get to decide, like what we're doing. So I was just like, Mary got some nerve right now. And then, after that, then it was like everybody started thinking, and then that's when all their phones went off. And then that's when Marcus jumped up on the tube, and then he was just like, good evening, Gotham. He said, tonight at midnight, I want you all to gather to Gotham Square, because tonight in Gotham Square, I'm going to reveal the true identity of Batwoman. And to which I still say, who cares? Because Ryan is not that special to the point where people are going to care about her secret identity. But we later found out what the true reason behind it was. So then Jada shows up and then she's just like, oh, where's my daughter? And then they were just like, oh, she went to go run an errand. Ryan actually went down to to Arkham. She went to Arkham to go have a conversation with Alice because she knew that, as a favor to Mary, she wanted to at least listen to Alice and hear where Alice is coming from to see if Alice truly does deserve to have the buzzer or not. Jada's not aware of this yet, so she ends up helping the Bat team come up with some information, come up with some equipment and everything that they can use to try to track Marcus and find out where he is. We even find out that Jada knew, Luke's dad. Like she actually knew like Lucius Fox, and then she said, like, your father repeated himself all the time, and then it has something to do with like a server that Lucius Fox had built for Jada. Jada gave it to Luke. Luke plugged it up, and now they have eyes on the streets, and they're able to find, they're able to locate Marcus and find Marcus. And then Luke was just like, should we tell her that Ryan was gonna give away the joy buzzer? They're like, no, because she's giving us equipment, she's giving us assistance. But they did end up telling her in the end, what Ryan's plan was, and then she kind of got upset about that. So Ryan, now she's at Arkham and she's talking to Alice. And then while she's talking to Alice, she was basically like, bitch, like, convince me. Like, I need you to convince me to give you this joy buzzer. And Alice basically was like desperate, and she was begging and everything. And then that's when Ryan was just like, look, this whole thing was a waste of time. Clearly you don't deserve the joy buzzer, and I'm out. But then she was just like, she was like, being here in Arkham, I went downstairs and had a conversation with some of the Arkham lifers, and one of them told me a nice riddle that you probably want to hear. And when she name dropped the Riddler, like, I thought that was really cool. But at the same time, I was also surprised that Alice even had a conversation with the Riddler, because both her and Ocean helped kill and remove the remains of the Riddler's daughter. So hopefully that'll be a problem, for the Bat team in the next season to come. So she tells Ryan about, what Marcus told her about the day that the Joker had hijacked the bus and telling the Joker her plan. And then she said that Marcus is basically going to reenact the Joker's last joke that he couldn't pull off because Batman stopped him. And then at that moment, Luke had found Marcus's location. And then when Luke realized where he was just like, he can't be. And then she was like, the Mary and everybody was like, well, where is he? And then, Sophie had said, is he driving the Bat jet? Because, he got into the Batcave, like, because Alice gave him the info to the Batcave. She was like, is he driving the Bat jet? And then he was like, no, because he said if he was driving the Bat jet, he wouldn't be moving that slow. But he was like, the only thing that could move that slow is the Bat Blimp. And when he said the Bat Blimp, like, I honestly like grinned from ear to ear, because if you watch Batman the Animated Series, the opening shot with the Bat Blimp, the episode where Batman was on a blimp and he did the I am vengeance, I am the night. So to find out that there's like an actual, and then they had a Bat Blimp in the Adam West too. So the fact that there's a Bat Blimp, I thought that was actually just like really cool. And but the weird thing was the bomb chemicals that the Joker was going to use, because the Joker was going to basically spread acid rain all over the city. He had some bombs and some chemicals that he was going to blow up in the hot air balloon. And when he was after he blew it up, I guess like the Joker gas or the Joker rain or whatever was gonna infect or like poison the city or whatever. So so because that was his plan, and now they know that what his plan was. I'm still trying to figure out how they got that stuff in the Bat Blimp. And why was Bruce okay with it still being in the Bat Blimp? Like that part was always that part didn't make sense to me. But anyway, so now that they know there's trouble, they gotta it's like now they really gotta come up with a plan. So Ryan comes back, and then they end up talking about that, like, okay, what are we gonna do? And then they were just like, well, we got to get back into Wayne Tower if we want to take control of the Blimp, because taking control of the Blimp was the plan that they could come up with. So, but in order for them to do that, Ryan had to then go to her mom. She had to go to Jada, and she had to apologize for basically choosing Alice over Marcus. And then she was like, oh, you said you were going to put our family back together. And she was like, I am going to put our family back together, but she was like, you got to trust me. And she said, in order for me to start putting our family back together, she said, because you're Jada Jet, because you're rich and powerful and all this other bullshit, she was like, I need you to work your corporate voodoo magic, and I need you to get me my job back at Wayne Enterprises. So, Jada agreed to do that. And then, Marcus was watching the TV. Then he saw on the TV report that Jada basically admitted to the public, to the press, that Marcus is crazy and that he killed his father. And once the board of directors found that out, they immediately reinstated Ryan Wilder, because they said that her resignation was coerced because this guy is now crazy. So now, Marcus is upset, and he's just like, oh, everybody's going to die now. Like, everybody's going to die. So now Batwoman, she's in costume now, and she's trying to basically get aboard the Blimp so she can stop Marcus. The rest of the Bat team, they were trying to figure out, because all those people were still in Gotham Square, they were trying to figure out how they can get all those people out of Gotham Square. So now that Ryan is once again CEO of Wayne, Sophie, Luke, and Mary, they go back into the Wayne Tower. They go into the Batcave, and Sophie came up with the idea. She ended up using the Penguin's umbrella, his hypnotizing umbrella, to broadcast a hypnotic signal to the rest of the planet. Well, the rest of the world, I guess everybody in Gotham, because Luke also said that they were able to hack every phone in Gotham. So they basically did like the Penguin's umbrella, like his hypnosis umbrella. They used that to hypnotize all the people in Gotham Square, and they got all the people in Gotham Square to leave Gotham Square so they can evacuate the city. And then, so that was nice. And then, like, Mary was trying to do some stuff with the blimp, with the computer. And then her and Luke were going back and forth. And then Luke was just like, like, I miss this dynamic between me and you. And then she was like, me too. And I'm just like, why don't you two just get it on already? But, and then once Marcus found out that they kind of like foiled his plans and they got all the people out of the city, he got upset. And then he took a shot at the blimp. And then he basically shot the controls for the blimp. So now Luke can't control the blimp. So then Ryan basically like grappled onto the blimp the hard way. She goes onto the blimp. She ends up getting into a fight with Marcus. And then she was telling Marcus, she was like, I want my brother back. And then he was like, you're so stupid because you're not going to get me back. The two of them fight on the blimp, which is a very cool fight scene. And then, he kicks Ryan off the blimp. And then she grapples him and pulls him down. And then there's a parachute. And then they land on a roof. And now both of them are on a roof. And they're basically like they're basically still fighting. They tumble off the roof. But then when Marcus goes over the roof, Ryan grabbed his hand and tried to save him from falling off the roof. So just as he was just like, oh, you can't save me and save yourself, sis. And then she was like, you're my brother. I'm not going to let you go. And then after that, Alice showed up. I'm like, how did she get out of Arkham? Like Alice showed up and then she helped both of them up. And then after she helped both of them up, Marcus basically in an enraged fury, he runs towards Ryan, I guess, to push her off the roof. And then Ryan came out of her pocket and then busted him in the side of the head with the joy buzzer. She brain blasted him and then like he passed out. And then after that, and and then Alice basically they showed the scene where the two of them talked about Alice, admitting that she doesn't deserve the joy buzzer and that Ryan was right all along. So, she ended up giving it back to her. She used it, she got Marcus down for the count. And then after Marcus was down for the count, they brought his body back to Mary, to Mary's doctor's office. Luke got in the Batwing costume and he flew onto the blimp because the controls were damaged. And they were trying to say that the blimp is going to explode at any moment and like billions of people are going to die. But then Luke realized that he could fix that. He can gain control of the blimp because his dad's AI that's in the Batwing costume can talk to the blimp technology because it's still bat technology. And he said his dad can basically steer the blimp into the direction they want it to go in. Luke said his final goodbye to his dad's memory because once he takes the AI out to control the blimp, that was it for his pops. The problem was they were too far away from the river because they were going to take the balloon and float it over the river. But because they were too far away from the river, Sophie ended up giving Luke some coordinates to like an empty, desolate part of the city where like nobody lives. Luke was able to get the blimp in that direction along with his AI daddy, and then Luke jumped off of the blimp. The blimp exploded in that quote unquote desolate place in Gotham, and then after that, Luke saved a kid, and then everybody went back home. So so then it takes us to Ryan and Jada, they're at the hospital, and then Marcus wakes up and he's just like, oh, I'm happy to meet my sister for the first time. So like their family is happy. Mary found a letter that Alice had written to her saying that she's going to leave Gotham and go find herself. And she actually put on a dark brown wig so she looks like Beth again. So I think Alice is going to go off in the world trying to find out where Beth is and who Beth is. And I hope she doesn't leave the show. Like I actually hope like when the show comes back, she doesn't. I mean, they gave her a good out, but she could always come back. Like the way they gave her the out, like the door for that was always open. And then after that, like Jada and, Ryan, they were just like, oh, we're a family, we're a family, we're going to be a family and everything. And I was just like, this was the perfect opportunity for Ryan to be like, so speaking of families, like what's really good with my daddy, John, like John Diggle, because we all know John Diggle is his girl's daddy. And I can't wait for them to reveal that shit next season. I'm like totally on, like, I want this more than I want Diggle to get the ring. Like I'm rooting for Diggle to be Ryan's father more so than I'm rooting for Diggle to get the ring. I swear to God, he better be, if he's both, that's even better. So yeah, so that was it in that regard. And then the Bat team was just like, they're just like, there's more criminal scum out there that needs to be taken down, and and we're gonna do it. Like who's with me? And then the Bat team said like, we're with you, Batwoman. And then in the final scene, it showed that the quote unquote desolate area where they blew up the hot air balloon, there was actually people there. and you saw this one guy, he got up, he looked like he was like he was mutated. It was almost like between the chemicals and the explosion, something happened that mutated him, and now he looks like, some zombie like monster. And the fallout of all those people that were affected by that hot air balloon in a place that they assumed was desolate, that's going to come back to bite everybody in the ass in the next season. So, so that was it for the episode, and thank you for tuning in. A lot of names got dropped, like I said, Riddler, Penguin. We even saw somebody dressed up as the Joker in Marcus's flashback. That's always cool. And like I said, I'm still waiting for Bruce to come back and be like, yo, y'all fucking up my family legacy. I'm saying, like, y'all ruining Wayne Enterprises. But I love me some Batwoman, and like I love where all the stories go. Because like I said, we still got the Luke and Mary situation. We still got what happened to Beth. Is she gonna stay? Is she gonna go? Ryan and Sophie are an official couple now. And like I said, in the whole thing with with John Diggle being her daddy, like I'm still waiting for that. And then we're allowed to have Bat villains now. They reminded us about Killer Croc, the Mad Hatter. We had we had even though they were new versions, we had all these old Batman villains. So the WB, DC, HBO, Warner Media, whoever, they've loosened the reins as far as like letting these characters be a part of the show. And like I said, we're getting a lot of name drops, and I hope that a lot of these characters appear in the next season. So share your thoughts and your questions down below. Like, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram as always. Let me know what you thought about this particular season of Batwoman, where we got back to basics. Like I said, bringing up old Batman villains. The whole thing about Marcus, like Ryan having a brother, Diggle being her daddy. And share your thoughts, and we will continue to talk about it. So that's it for Batwoman, guys. Like, Batwoman's in the books. I love me some Batwoman. Like, I love Batwoman, and I hope that all the DC TV shows continue on HBO Max once their contracts is up, because I heard they trying to, like, DC is basically trying to snatch all that stuff and get all that stuff back. And I'll be down for that, because maybe not every show, but, and I was having this conversation, with someone on YouTube, during one of my videos. I forgot your name. I apologize. But, we were talking about what would happen if some of these shows go to HBO Max. And like I said before, like I said to that person when I wrote them back, I feel like HBO Max is perfect for a show like Batwoman. Hell, even Superman and Lois, I think, was supposed to be on HBO Max, and then they decided to put it on CW. But Batwoman would be perfect for it, because it's dark, it's gritty. You can push the envelope with Batwoman on HBO Max. Like, you can't really do that with The Flash, because The Flash is supposed to be like a happy show, but Batwoman is perfect for it. But like I said, I want the whole damn, DC Arrowverse on HBO Max. So we will see. We will definitely see what happens. Who was your MVP for Batwoman this season? I gotta give it up to Mary. I definitely, Mary as an actress on this show stepped up in a very big way, and she made her character relevant. It's not just like, oh, like there's the Bat, because it's like now that Sophie's a part of the team, and Sophie is basically like Ryan's Diggle. You look at Mary and it's like, well, you don't have computer skills, so it's like, what do you do? But she's the team doctor, but she proved that she deserved to have a place and a voice on this team, and I'm happy that she's there. And from an acting standpoint, she basically like acted her ass off throughout the course of the entire thing, doing the Poison Ivy thing and changing up and everything. So definitely, I would say Mary is my MVP of this particular season, and we'll see who, Sophie's always the MVP of my heart, but it has a personal choice and a personal decision. But I can't, like I said, I can't wait. There was no official announcement for a Batwoman, for a Batwoman season 4 renewal, but like I said, hopefully it's coming. It's coming on HBO Max. So like I said, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for taking the Batwoman journey with me for all 13 of these episodes. Like I said, going all the way from the Mad Hatter to Killer Croc, to Poison Ivy, to Mr. Freeze. Remember the Mr. Freeze episode? John Diggle popping up, Jada Jet and the whole nine. Thanks for taking the ride with me. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. So like I said, hit me up on YouTube. Let me know what you think about Batwoman. Let me know what you think about Batwoman being on HBO Max. Let me know what you think about everything in general, because again, I got the Batman, got my Batman t-shirt. Yeah, like I got the Batman on my channel right now, my review for the Batman. I got my reviews for Superman and Lois and Naomi, and I also have my review for the season finale of Legends of Tomorrow as we prepare and wait for Young Justice. So that was it, guys. So until next season, hopefully till next season, let's pray for it. Keep in touch. Keep it locked here for all your DC and some Marvel news and some Marvel action. Until next time, for the Batwoman, as always, I'm out this bitch.